Tell me about the SACOG and the formation of the connector. Well, how did it take a long time? What was that like? I mean, because I feel like that's what, early 2000s or late 90s? Like, can you share a little bit about some of that experience?
Well, it was a difficult project initially to explain to the board what we were doing and why we were doing it, because there was too many ideologies that got into the way of a board at the time, that board, the SACOG board. But I think, in my opinion, with Dave Cox, who was the chair of the supervisors at the time, and then Neela eventually came on, so we had both of them. They took a leadership role on behalf of the county to articulate what the position of what they would be looking for and how to look for. And certainly they got their information from Mr. Natoli, which told me they got great communication going on up there, which really made it helpful. But then we had some jurisdictions that weren't necessarily affected where the roadway was going to go through, but they were very vehemently against any new roadways because they said everything to them was sprawl inducing, stuff like that, and they had and I love the city of Sacramento, don't get me wrong, but there's not enough space for everybody down there. And number two, not everybody wants to live in a city. Right. They don't mind living out in open space, or open areas, or, having an acre lot instead of that. And I think the city has recognized that, city of Sacramento, and they've done a much better job than what their ideology was when we were trying to form this thing. So it was definitely an uphill battle. We had a couple directors that weren't enamored with the original thought. I think it got moving. I think it got better traction when Marty Tuttle was running the show at SACOG, quite frankly. No disrespect to any other guys, because I got along with all of them. I think they're very, very, very knowledgeable, incredible at what they do. But when Marty took over and after taking over from the one that we unfortunately had to let go, things accelerated from there. And Marty had a way of being able to talk to the board, walk them through all the benefits of what we were trying to do at the JPA here. And you know what? They started to buy in. Good. And when I say buy in, nobody wants to be sold. You have to give them enough information that they will buy. Interesting. And that's where we were lacking. We were not giving out enough information to the board members. I mean, Dave and I and Roger could talk to her blue in the face, Rusty, Jim Cooper, they just weren't understanding it enough. We don't have the transportation jargon, so to speak, that you guys had the expertise on. So Marty brought in the appropriate people to be able to share that expertise. He brought in Mike McKeever at that time and worked for Marty. And that's a lot of things accelerated. The board still was wary of taking some transportation funding of some projects SACOG felt were more important than the JPA corridor. And so that took a little discussion, if you will. Sure. And more times than not, we got money out of it, but usually not to the extent that we needed to make it happen. So it's been a clawback quite a bit. And then going forward, it just got a little bit tougher because everybody wanted money, and the money's been shrinking. And, it's like, man, I just wish people would recognize, I mean, we're certainly a lot better than a train going to nowhere, in my opinion. Yeah.
Well, but it got to a ballot measure. Yes. 2004, that was passed by 75%. Yes. I struggle.
Brought that up.
I struggle to see something that popular today on any question, to be candid, right? But at the time, transportation investment was extremely popular, 75%. Yeah. How did you guys do that? Because we're not seeing numbers like that today on any type of transportation investment.
Yeah. Well, it's the dynamics and the economics now compared to them are so different. But going back to the original question, we did that because we showed them and told them and participated and welcomed them. We had several meetings in the city of Folsom, community meetings, inviting people in. I don't care if you lived in Dorado Hills or Rancho Cordova or Orangevale or whatever. We wanted to hear people's opinions. And I think by leaving the invitation open for everybody to talk about it, not just ones that lived in the jurisdictions affected, that helped us formulate the opinions and what people were thinking about transportation. And I think, quite honestly, with the 5 jurisdictions behind that ballot measure was huge. And that told everybody they're committed. This region is committed to doing this because we want all the stuff we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, everything better. And so it's a little disappointing that, we're still having to fight the battle, because you took something that was incredibly popular, had a landslide opinion vote to build it. And here we are today, and we still have some unfinished segments.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is just plain wrong, absolutely wrong. And I'll go back a little bit, if I may. I use a parallel of when we were doing HOV lanes on Highway 50. Everybody was on board, but at that time, the city of Sacramento representatives did not want an HOV lane going through the jurisdictional part of the city of Sacramento. And that was the current ideology of that city council and that manager. Okay, you got to respect that. I mean, they know their city better than we do. Here we are fast forwarding. What's in there now? That could have been done. I mean, we're talking almost 20 years ago.
Right.
That could have been done with a lot less disruption because we wouldn't have the numbers of people we have today trying to put that project together.
The 6-year-long construction nightmare on Highway 50.
And unfortunately, you look at the amount of fatalities and accidents. I mean, it's off the charts.
Yes.
It would not have happened back then because of the population difference.